Ready? This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we're talking about Atali, chunky in cEDH.
That's right. We're dedicating this entire episode to Atali, Primal Conqueror, the Chunky himself.
I'm excited to talk about this one. This is a great food chain commander. This is a deck that you have recently put back together. Is this video, I don't know, are we going to call this a deck tech, a deck review? We're just talking about Atali.
Yeah, it's more like a commander review. Like,
Okay.
we're just going to go more in-depth on Atali and just spend the day talking about Atali. So if this is a format that you like, let us know what commanders maybe you'd like us to see do a deeper dive into in the future.
I feel like first thing I want to try to go over with Atali, what are the initial pros and cons? Or actually, should we just read what Atali is before we get to it?
Let's start
Everyone
off,
knows, but let's read what it does.
From the beginning, which is not something we often do. So Atali Primal Conqueror is 5 and 2 red for a legendary creature Elder Dinosaur that's a 7/7 with trample. And when he enters the battlefield, each player exiles from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. And for 9 and Phyrexian green mana, you can transform Atali at sorcery speed into Atali Primal Sickness, who then becomes a Phyrexian Elder Dinosaur. That's an 11/11 with trample and indestructible, and when he deals combat damage to a player, that player gets that many poison counters.
How many times have you transformed this card?
Since I put it back together, once.
Oh, once you did? Okay,
once
cool.
I did, yeah.
Wow, okay. Was it just because you had extra mana? Or?
No, it's because things are going bad for me,
Okay.
and I need to get rid of a player that has like a Draenith Magistrate in play or something like
interesting.
that.
Okay,
And then
okay.
it was a Draenith Magistrate that came in later, and now I can't like go for my second attempt again. So it was really weird.
What's your main goal with Atali? What's the main thing? I feel we should talk about this even before pros and cons. What are we trying to do with Atali?
So the main thing is really just trigger the enter the battlefield ability.
Like as much as possible.
As much as possible, because
Right.
it's so good. Get 4 free spells that you get to cast right here, right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're playing against cEDH decks, so this is like a great way that Atali can, in red-green, kind of extend outside of its color combination.
I feel like I'm playing a 5-color deck for that reason.
Yeah, you can find black tutors, you can find white silence effects, you can find blue bounce spells, you can find all this stuff. The only issue is you don't get to decide when you find them.
Yeah, and notably, Atali makes you cast all of the spells that the one trigger finds at the same time right away.
Counter spells or whiffs.
Exactly, yeah, because there's nothing on the stack when you get all the spells. You exile them all, and then you have to arrange them in the order that you want them to resolve, with the spell that you want to resolve last being the first that you put on the stack. Whoa, okay, so I've actually learned something since we pre-recorded this episode for this week, and that is that if you stack everything correctly, you can actually target other spells that were already put onto the stack. So say you flip over a green Sun Zenith, which normally is forced to be X = 0 when you cast it for free. If you also flip into an offer you can't refuse, you just have to put green Sun Zenith on the stack first, so that an offer you can't refuse can target green Sun Zenith and net you 2 treasures then, so that way it's not like you're completely losing out on 2 dead flips. This also means that when we talk about Flare of Duplication later, it actually kind of changes a couple things. Like I can copy a Twin Flame if I want to, which seems really good. And if you want a little bit more info on that, there's actually a ruling on the Gatherer that tells you that this is okay. So let's get back to the podcast. Normally for me, this is if I spin into like a clone effect or a way to copy Atali, I like getting all of my information off of my other spells first and then getting another Atali before I keep going.
And each situation is going to be so different depending on when you fire off the spells, right? But in order for a spell to go on the stack, specifically a counter spell needs a target, so they can't go on the stack at all.
Yeah.
But you'll have to announce your targets for everything when you cast them, all right then.
This means that if there's a Ristic or Mystic in play, you're going to trigger them and they're going to get the cards before you resolve any of the spells that you're getting.
Yeah, they're going to get 4 Ristic Studies and they'll draw 4 times before you cast the first spell.
Exactly,
right?
yes. To set up for the ultimate backbreaking card, Mind Break Trap.
Yeah, that
which
one
is
really
one
sucks.
that you really want to look out for. Yeah,
because Mind Breaking exile all the things on the stack. So all 4 of those spells, get them all gone. Or just the Itali if you don't want to get there, but the option of also all of the spells.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely makes Itali feel really silly in that case.
Yeah.
But we're really trying to get Atali Atali to enter the battlefield as many times as possible.
Normally, like turn 2 is like the goal, right?
Turn 2's the
right?
goal, yeah, which means that most of the deck is mana. Like
Right.
there's just a lot of ways to make multiple instances of mana, and that's so many cards in the deck is mana.
That's all you want to do is cast Atali, recast Atali. If they kill Atali, great. You recast it and you get the thing that you want over again.
Yeah, it
right?
almost works out if they recast it. It's like, oh, okay, I can get to 9 mana. That's not impossible.
That's certainly one of the pros of the deck is that like you don't really care about them getting rid of your commander. You actually specifically want them to. So that's, I feel like an aspect of the deck that's good is like all you want is that enters trigger. Your thing doesn't need to stick around. It just needs to do the effect. It's a spell basically.
And if it does stick around, it's a 7-power creature that can flip over into something that's just going to take a player out in one shot. Like it is something that people will want to interact with if it's getting into the red zone enough.
And Treasonous Ogre has become such a powerful card in your deck that I think it's good to be able to have a blocker sometimes. If you do have to pass a turn and say, okay, at least I got the 7/7, you can't get through, which can save my life total, which means it'll keep Treasonous Ogre alive a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, that is one card, right? But I do think that since the banning of Dockside, Mana Crypt, and Jewel Lotus, Treasonous Ogre seems like your best card now.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
So like the deck definitely did feel the bans, which was the reason why I took it apart at the beginning of the new meta. But what I've since realized is that like all of the cards that still feel insane in the deck are still available.
Yeah.
And it just kind of gives you the outlet to play some other cards then too. I agree with you. Treasonous Ogre has been the card that has shined the most for me. It's just the easiest way to get a turn 2 Atali has been just like if you can get Treasonous Ogre out, then you're good as gold.
Yeah, and that's another one of the pros is speed. Like the deck is just fast. It's a turbo deck.
Yeah.
It's gonna win quickly. You're looking to win on turn 2 or 3. I guess theoretically you have turn 1 win opportunities. You've done that to me before, I feel.
I've definitely threatened turn 1 chunkies that have gotten stopped.
Yeah, okay, that's close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would mainly you're winning between turn 2 and 3, maybe turn 4, right? That's your sweet spot.
That is normally my sweet spot. A turn 4 is a slow one, but there's a couple of cards that are in the deck that like set you up to be able to win. Pretty protected for turn 4 then.
And then the pros of just being able to, we've talked about them already, but being able to cast all of your opponent's stuff, being able to cast things outside of your color pie, but being able to just like 3 spells in a cEDH meta, they're gonna be good. And a lot of times, since so much of the deck is like copying Atali, if you can cast 8 free spells, you're probably gonna win the game, right? Even if they're random spells, 3 of them can be mana dorks or whatever, but if 5 of them are like, you know, all you need is 2 tutors a lot of the times that you can find to win.
You can really get somewhere. Yeah. And it's a lot of the times okay to find some sources of like artifact mana preferably because you can use that for the tutors that you find to then use all of your follow-up spells. Like what I like about having such a mass number of chunky copiers in your deck, your Twin Flame, your Molten Duplication, your Electro Duplicate, and your Heat Shimmer.
The flashback one.
The flashback one is nutty.
That one's real good.
I had a game where I top decked Gamble while I was empty-handed and just went, oh, it's a chunky.
Yeah, it's just a chunky.
It's just a 5-mana chunky because I can flashback Electro Duplicate from my graveyard.
Yeah.
And a 5-mana chunky is great. And what I love about those is that it's almost always advantageous to keep the token copy of chunky because then you can send the other one to the command zone in case you spin into something like Hellkite Courser, which just puts your commander from the command zone into play directly.
Yeah, I felt kind of before the bans happened with Dockside and Cloudstone Curio, there was a lot of times where you wanted to leave your commander in play in case you wanted to like bounce it up again, right? But I feel like that's not there anymore. Now it's just way more often than not better to keep the token in play. There still might be some situations where it would be better to keep Italian play, right?
Like I'm still on Cloudstone because you just basically I just replaced Dockside with the Sticker Goblin.
Yeah, which is one of
which
the cons.
is the first weakness I would like to talk about. Yeah, is that now I have to play stickers.
Stupid Sticker Goblin.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's nice because like Food Chain is such an aggressively powerful win condition for the deck that it's the mana combo that I win with 99% of the time, I even want to say.
Yeah, it's such a good Food Chain deck. And we can talk about like the win conditions a little bit too, because Food Chain with Squee, or you're playing Eternal Scourge too, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not on
just
Eternal
Squee.
Scourge.
Food Chain and Squee is such a good combo for the deck because it allows you to exile your fucking Atali for 8 mana, so then just 1 more mana and you get to recast Atali right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it sets you up to be able to keep getting Atalis. You spin into other people's creatures that if you don't need them can just get you other Atalis. You spin into like Eternal Witness sees play in a lot of decks. That gets you back an Atali copier that you already cast and gets exiled the Food Chain for some more mana to help you cast another Atali. Like there's so many great things that Food Chain helps you spin through to keep your engines going.
The Twin Flame effects you have, we were talking about, you have 4 of those Twin Flame effects. That one's really great because you can pair that with Dualcaster Mage, and then you have your other win condition right there, where like you're the one part of your A plus B is already just good with your commander, right?
Exactly,
Make a copy of it. That's great.
You think Thrasios Timna lives it up because Devoted Druid combos with so many things?
Right.
Take a look at Dualcaster Mage.
Yeah,
now.
it's the same thing. Dualcaster Mage copies with all 4 of them, right? Are they all?
Yeah,
copy?
all of them.
They all
Yeah,
work
you
with
just have to
Dualcaster?
hold priority while they're on the stack. Flashing Dualcaster Mage, you can make a copy of it. Having the copy target Dualcaster Mage and just make infinite 2/2s.
Yeah.
This is not a combo you see very much anymore because we've gotten a lot better ways to win the game. But when you're
It
in
works with this one.
Gruul and you need like a third backup combo, like
Yeah.
I don't really hate it. Yeah.
So your main combo is Food Chain.
Main combo's Food Chain.
This one's your third, you said.
I guess technically it would be my
Second.
my third because it doesn't win with Atali.
Okay, what's your second?
It would be Cloudstone Curio Loops with Sticker Goblin and a cheap creature.
Oh, okay, sure, interesting. That's just what easier to pull off.
It's, well, Cloudstone Curio and Sticker Goblin are both cards that are really good in the deck on their own. Like Curio being able to help me get Atalis for 7 mana back consistently feels really good. And like I just play a lot of cheap red creatures that would combo with Sticker Goblin. Like if I have Ragavan, if I have Orcish Lumberjack, there's a lot of different stuff I could have that just like makes that work out nicely.
And the Sticker Goblin is always going to make at least 4 mana.
It'll always make at least 4 mana.
I think the reason is because there are a couple of the sticker cards that have to be 3, but there's not 3 of them. And since you always pick at least 3, at minimum there will be 1 4.
I think in my deck right now, there's actually only one that has 3. Yeah. And all of my other ones, I just went through them all again. All the other ones most of them have 4, 2 of them have 5, and 1 of them has 6.
Has 6. Okay. And now obviously the 6 is what you want, but still 4 or ideally 5 is fine, right?
Yeah. But like it really requires me to have like specifically Ragavan or Orcish Lumberjack and like the 5 mana option in order to make infinite mana. Otherwise, I need to have Bergie in play.
Okay.
Because each time I go through the loop, Bergie will net me an additional mana.
And that's Bergie's good, I feel like, for a couple reasons, because Bergie also helps you with Rhystic Study. If you're going through your food chain line, if you're casting a spell, Bergie can help you.
It does, yeah.
Not with the first one, but with the second
But
Rhystic
with
Study.
all of the other ones, yeah, it'll help me if there's
Right?
one Rhystic Study in play. So I really do like Bergie for that reason. Just getting me extra mana. And I like the flip side of Bergie quite a lot too. Just helping me find like the important pieces in my deck that I might need to.
Being in green, sometimes you end up with extra mana dorks in your hand that you don't really have time to cast, and just getting rid of them with the, what's the flip side of Bergie called? What is it? A goblet? A glove?
Horn.
It's a horn.
Harnfell, Horn of Bounty.
Right, yeah, that helps you with that. The reason why I bring up Rhystic Study, I feel like Rhystic is another one of the cons or like weak part of this deck, is that you're kind of weak to Rhystic Study because you want to cast 1,000 spells, and also your win condition with Food Chain requires you to cast 1,000 spells.
Yeah, like there's a lot of times where I jokingly say you can just win through Rhystic Study, which like you kind of can. Atali sets up scenarios where you can just end up brute forcing through players' interaction and through their decks to the point where you just find their silence, and then you go, okay, now I no longer need to care about a majority of the things that you could get. You've tapped out. Otawara's not an option. Beseju's not an option. Like there comes a point where you can just go, screw it, I don't have to care.
Right, and because every one of your spells is giving them 1 draw, but every one of your spells is a spell, and not every one of their draws is a spell.
That's true.
Most of them are land. A third of them are lands. Probably more than a third of them are sorcery speed stuff. 10 of them are counter spells, right?
Yeah.
So the likelihood of you hitting a silence or something good, like, okay, you hit the force of will, I'm going to keep going anyway, and eventually you'll find something better. It's in your favor.
The odds that Atali misses are really tough because you'll never hit a land.
Right.
And
you're
like
always hitting a spell at least.
You're always hitting a spell. And sometimes, like we said, it's a counter or it's a mana dork, right? But there's normally still something good. Now, there are going to be times, like, here's the other weakness of the deck is that you are going to get unlucky sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you are going to flip over, like, Utopia Sprawl, Force of Will, Flusterstorm, and then
dork.
Talisman of Negation or something.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go, oh, great. Now Chunky's in play, and I don't have a way to get rid of Chunky to do something else. So
now I fed the Rhystic Study player 4 cards. I have nothing to do.
And now you just sit there with a 7/7 in play.
Yeah.
And like, because you used LED and Orcish Lumberjack to get him out on turn 2, you have like no resources to follow any of this up with.
Yeah, so that can happen, and has happened, right?
It has happened. It is a bit of an all-in deck, but there's so much that you can do to just help set yourself up for like a Chunky and then another Chunky, right? Like you play the Surveil land so that way you can set yourself up to go Surveil land, spin the bad card that I don't want, now I have Chunky, and then you can get your good thing.
It's a deck that works well with some of its bad things too. The fact that when you do get some of those shitty things and you just get like a mana dork or something like that, well, you still have Gaia's Cradle, or if you hit their counterspell, well, your counterspells are weak. That's your weakness, so great, you don't have a counterspell now against me, which is fine, right?
There's definitely upsides to a lot of
there's
that
upsides,
too,
yeah.
And there's a lot of just like also really powerful things that just like help you find other copies of Chunky and just like get him into play even easier too. I mentioned Hellkite Courser. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite part about that is that it doesn't, because you didn't cast him, it doesn't add to his commander tax. So even if Chunky cost 11, you get him into play for free off Hellkite Courser. When he goes back to the command zone, he'll still cast 11, which is really good. Hunting Velociraptor is sick. It just has to get in at one player who just like didn't have a mana dork or something, and then that way Atali costs 3 mana. A commander tax will still apply, which means that if you cast him again, that's only 5 mana, which is still really good on the same Prowl turn. I also really like Rionia. Rionia's cracked because if you cast Chunky and get 4 instants or sorceries, that just means you get 5 Rionia copies of Chunky then when you move to combat.
How many Atali triggers do you need to resolve to be pretty confident that you can win the game?
3. I feel like I need 3 to 4 Atalis to make it feel like I can get this to a game win.
It's like the first one gets you to the second one one gets you to the third one gets you to the win.
If the third one can get me to the 4th one at least, I feel like I can put the win together somewhere.
Eventually you're gonna hit something good. You're gonna hit a tutor. You're gonna hit a ranger captain to make sure your opponents can't respond anymore. You're gonna hit good spells because you're playing against cEDH decks. They're all good spells.
It's kind of like, you know how abundance works with Wheel of Fortune? It's kind of like that through your deck where you just get to choose spell every time. You just go, oh, I get to cast all these spells. Oh, look, I found an Underworld Breach. Oh, look, I found this. So you just get to like figure out like these really cool, insane puzzles then too.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, you don't need much. 2 tutors will probably get you there. Oftentimes 1 tutor. You can find Food Chain off of a demonic tutor and cast it. Exile Atali, get another. That's a second one. Normally you have some mana dorks, exile them. That's a third one.
And then you just start spinning into everything else.
You'll find a tutor for Squee and be able to win the game.
The other one that I want to shout out real quick is Jaxus, the Troublemaker too.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you can blitz Jaxus so that way for just a red mana and discarding a card. So I guess technically 3 mana in total and discarding a card, you can blitz a copy of Atali, and then this Atali copy is blitzed too, so that when that Atali copy dies, you get to draw an extra card.
Which is nice. Little bonus.
Just extra little bonus. Yeah.
I think the issue, at least another con that I see about this deck is like lack of protection. You're just kind of like a lot of times you're hoping your opponents don't have anything, or that you hope that they don't have 2 counter spells. You're like, I can present 2 wins here, so if you have a counter for the one, hopefully the other one resolves. What do you have to start? You have what? Defense Grid, Veil of Summer. What's your protection look like?
Defense Grid and Veil of Summer are my favorites. Delighted Halfling's a good way to help get an uncounterable Chunky.
That's good. That can be good.
Doesn't stop a lot of stuff like can't really stop Mindbreak Trap super well, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Delighted Halfling helps me get an uncounterable Chunky. Destiny Spinner helps me get an uncounterable Chunky.
Cavern of Souls?
I do play Cavern of Souls, naming Dinosaur to help me get an uncounterable Chunky. So
can you name Elder? I guess there's more dinosaurs in your deck than Elders, though.
Technically like the Hunting Velociraptors in the deck, so I'd rather name Dinosaur.
Crop Rot for Cavern of Souls is also kind of relevant.
Crop Rot with rotation, basically, Those are really the only ways. I used to be on Vexing Shusher, but it's just a little bit too mana intensive at this point.
Vexing Bobble? You want to cast things for free. That's terrible.
Everything I do is cast things for free.
Some Autumn's Veil?
I've thought about Autumn's Veil. I like that. I like the range that Veil of Summer has a little bit more.
So much better.
Yeah, exactly. Where I feel like Autumn's Veil just does a little bit less for me in a lot of scenarios.
You kind of have to hope that you hit a silence first, or their interaction doesn't line up, or they don't have enough interaction to go.
My other options just play better.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Just like be a better player and just like know when to go for it versus also not know when to go for it.
Yeah, you gotta feel at the table.
Yeah, that I've been doing is like if you suspect someone has Mindbreak Trap, like to talk to them and like figure out which cards they're okay resolving, because like you can go, well, I'm only gonna do things that are gonna mess up the other players' boards, and I won't go for a win. And like I've had that work out for me where I don't get something like counter because I go, oh no, here I'll show you what I'm gonna tutor for. It's not gonna be a win. I'm going to get a Fury to help deal with this other stuff. Right? So like maybe you can't leverage it into a win, but maybe like you can use other things to help you get a win, because if you're not gonna win that turn anyway, you still want to have some board presence. Yeah,
that makes total sense. Like using communication, like using just like being able to stay alive. Since you don't have counter spells, talking, like you said, is like the best way to make sure you can stay alive. Is just tell your opponents like, let me resolve my shit. I will for now just find stuff to deal with them, and then hopefully eventually you'll have an opportunity to win later.
A good example of this, I feel like, is this game that we showed on the channel against Dan, Moderately Anonymous.
Yeah,
there was a moment where I could sense that Dan had Swords to Plowshares. They just kept saying to the table, oh, don't worry about Atali. I have a way that I can stop Atali from coming down. And I feel like at that point, when I surveilled a Twin Flame to the top of my library, I feel like right then is when I should should have showed everyone, no, I have a Twin Flame and done something then. But I waited until Dan was going to do something on your end step going into my turn when it was clear that they wanted the Swords to Plowshare my Orcish Lumberjack, which is just like a clear way to get a fast Atali. So I showed them the Twin Flame that was on top of my library, which then said, look, I don't have another chunky on board. And in my hand, I'm secretly looking at a Metamorphosis going, I know that I can still get a chunky.
Well, and the way that you phrased it was specific. You said, does it help you to know that what I scryed to the top was this card and it doesn't help me get a chunky? This doesn't help me right now. And you showed the card that you kept on the top, it doesn't help to get on chunky. And we had just been talking that like Cameron would only keep a card on top if it allowed him to get a turn 2 chunky. But Cam already had a turn 2 chunky. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? It didn't matter what card was on top. So he said, this card doesn't help me. And Maud goes, okay, yeah, that card doesn't help you. Take your turn. And then you had Metamorphosis.
And I had Metamorphosis and my Surveil Land. Now I could sacrifice to the Orcish Lumberjack then too. So it ended up working out. But like, there's times where like you're going to have to use your words because your deck can't interact in the ways that you need your tournament cEDH decks to interact. So you have to use your words a lot of the time.
Other ways that kind of act as like soft, I don't want to say like protection, but like I view Magus of the Moon and Blood Moon as also weird ways to turn off your opponent's interaction because they can no longer cast their silences, which were pretty good against you with the Atali trigger on the stack. I'm gonna silence you. You can't cast any of those spells or any of the blue counter spells, Swan Song stuff, specific stuff like that. You can shut off a lot of that stuff.
Honestly, those two cards have gotten way better since Jeweled Lotus and Dockside have gotten banned.
Yeah.
Because that was like the biggest reason to not play the Blood Moon effects.
Who cares?
Because
Dockside.
like I can still cast Dockside.
Yeah.
And I'm completely unlocked. But now that that's not an option for a lot of decks, like all of the top decks, Thrasios, Tymna, even Tymna Crown has such a hard time operating underneath
Only mountains.
Mountains. Yeah, like way, way, way more difficult. And I've said this before, but it turns it into a rule of law then basically where you can have mana rocks, you can have mana dorks, but your pips are so restrictive that you can still only cast one spell per turn cycle.
Yeah, it turns off days in Roxai.
That's nuts. Yeah. It is a non-bow with Carpet of Flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a little bit tough. So like there has been times where like I need Carpet of Flowers to help me get a chunky, but Blood Moon is helping me by like not letting certain players progress and win. So like that's really the only non-bow in the deck that I'm a little bit considerate of.
A little bit of a pull there.
Yeah, a little bit of a pull, but it's definitely they've definitely been super strong post-ban.
Yeah.
Another one that I haven't had the chance to try out yet, but I've been seeing in some other lists that I'm excited to test out is Wandering Archaic.
Oh yeah.
I think this is just like a good one to spin into, and some not perfect, but at least it's some kind of anti-mind break trap tech where now like you have to make sure that you have mana up if you want to interact with anything that I'm gonna do. Like this is another way that I can, I guess, have like a protected
counterspell protection now, because now all their counterspells they have to pay an extra 2 for, and a lot of times they're not going to have access to because they want it to progress their own board.
I feel like there's a lot of times where I can get to 5 mana, and then like I a lot of the time want to use my mana to help me progress to other mana, but there's other times where like I want to have 5 mana, but then like also sandbag additional mana for some other time. So if I can cast Wandering Archaic and then cast Atali in a future turn, I think there's going to be times where like slower, rockier hands will let Wandering Archaic type cards shine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Like in the games that Blood Moon is good, Wandering Archaic is also good.
Yes, definitely. And I think because you lack interaction, you need some of that. You need some way to protect, interact kind of on the stack. Like I feel like you just need a little bit of gameplay there, and Wandering Archaic is a great thing. Especially you're a big mana deck. You make a bunch of mana. Sometimes it's not 7. Sometimes you can only make 5. 5 mana on turn 1 for Wandering Archaic is still going to be really fucking good.
One other card I want to shout out real quick that I haven't had the chance to put into play yet, but I'm really excited to test out is Roaming Throne.
Oh, dude.
I think Dinosaur?
This has got to be good. I think it's got to be.
Right?
Like, if the other one is good, this is good.
It's just a twin flame that you get into play first.
It can be responded to, but you can't get blown out as easily. In response to Twin Flame, Swords or Atali. That fucking sucks. But if you Roaming Throne, I mean, I guess still in response to Atali, they could hit the Roaming Throne, but doesn't it have like ward or something? Does it have ward?
Has ward too.
It has ward too. Like, it has a little bit of protection even.
Yeah.
Like,
and what's nuts
I think it
is
makes
that
sense.
like it's also mind break trap protection kind kind of, because
Yeah,
the first Atali trigger will go off, and then you cast all of the spells from that Atali trigger while the second Atali trigger is still on the stack.
Yeah.
So they can get rid of one of your Atali triggers, but your second Atali trigger is still gonna go off.
That makes sense. Like they can only get 4 of the 8 spells that way. But
Exactly,
through
yeah.
one mind break trap.
And if that second one that they can't get gets me another Atali, then that's my second and third Atali then that a lot of the times like makes me feel like I can win. This idea came from spinning into it off of a Magda players.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh shoot, I should be playing this in my own deck.
Makes sense.
It kind of does.
I mean, if you're the only thing that you want to do in Atali is more Atali triggers, this card makes sense to me. Like you either win by infinite Atali triggers or you get to the win by getting a couple Atali triggers. So Roaming Throne's got to be it.
Yeah, I feel like it's just extra push for a lot of times when like you spin into a bunch of stuff and then it's bad and then you go, thank God I have Twin Flame in my hand. Like I kept an opener with an Atali copier and now I can use Treasonous Ogre to help me cast this Atali copier. Like, oh man, it lined up nicely for me this time, but there's going to be a lot of times where I think just having like Roaming Throne as my second one will just be like, oh, this is the one that found me, the Atali copier.
Any other like special highlightable cards that you want to mention? Like, I don't know, we'll go into you play Birds of Paradise or whatever. We don't have to go into like detail about that, but any like special cards you want to highlight?
Those are my main ones.
I feel like we talked about a bunch.
My mana base could probably use a little bit of tweaking. I don't think I need like Exotic or Orchard. I need to find another copy of, what's the Gain Life one?
No, don't say
Grove of the Burn
Oh,
Willows.
sure. Yeah, Grove is good.
Not the tap land.
Yeah, I was like, no, Cameron.
But like Grove of the Bird Willows, like at least is another thing. That,
Yeah, well,
like,
who
I could
cares
play
about
that's
giving
just
them a
little
life,
bit better.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That wouldn't be great.
I haven't seen this one in all of the decks, but I really like Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, just because Orcish Lumberjack is just so good.
Yeah, and sometimes you are running a couple colorless lands in your deck, right? You're running like an Ancient Tomb that sometimes you just need the double green or whatever.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's
even
fine.
Urza Saga or Emergence Zone tapping for green right away too. I'm on a full Carpet of Flowers thing too. So like Talongates of Madara I also have in here too.
Do you mean a full crop rotation thing?
What did I say?
Carpet of Flowers.
I meant to say crop rotation.
Crop rotation,
crop rotation.
Which
so
means crop rotation can be removal in Talon Gates. It can be a bunch of mana in Gaia's Cradle. It can be instant speed win in a Emergence Zone.
And it can be Graveyard get stuff back with Shifting Woodlands too.
Dude, Shifting Woodlands is such a huge, great include in this deck.
Because I feel like I get interacted with a lot. And all of my win conditions involve like a permanent that I want to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
Namely
it's perfect.
Food Chain.
Yes.
Namely Food Chain.
Namely Food Chain is the big one, but there's other ones that it's really nice that Shifting Woodlands can become a copy of. We've talked about this a bunch. I don't want to touch too much on Shifting, but I want to just mention how like Shifting, it's 4 mana to do it, but there's no tapping. So Shifting can be one of the mana that you do to activate the ability. It can be realistically closer to like 3 mana, it feels like a lot of time. The card is just so powerful, especially in a deck like this.
I'm not the best Delirium deck, but
That's
if
true.
I've gone
That's true.
through a couple of Atalis, there's a good chance that I'll have something. If I get blown out, there's a good chance that I'll have something.
You're going to get blown out. It's going to happen. Having a few pieces that help you recover is necessary.
It's really in there to be another Food Chain mostly.
Yeah.
And Food Chain, a lot of the times, is the 4th card type. Like Enchantment's the 4th card type that you need in your graveyard.
I wonder, there's never a situation where like, no, never mind. I'm trying to think like if it can become an Atali, like you let your Atali go to the graveyard, have Shifting become a copy of it, and then Twin Flame the Shifting, but that wouldn't work because it would, right?
I could Twin Flame a Shifting Woodlands,
to make another copy of the Atali and then sacrifice the one. So that sounds like that's like a very weird aside, but
it is something that could happen. Like that's technically a 6 mana Atali.
Right.
Instead
I feel like I don't have more mana, but you're just killing my Atali over here. I'm just gonna let it go to the command zone.
I don't hate that. I don't love the idea of putting Atali in my graveyard because once it's in my graveyard, I don't really have another good way to get it out of my graveyard.
Right. Yeah. And even if you do that Twin Flame line, but just another option. I don't know. Just something to think about.
Yeah.
It's nice that everything that Atali does well works really well with red and green stuff that Wizards has decided will be good in cEDH. Right. Like I feel like with the recent printing of Molten Duplication and the one with Flashback, these like cheap red copiers, these cheap red clone effects, they have said this is what red does well for Commander. I think at least that's the message that I'm getting.
Make short burst like impulse clones,
right? And that's great for Atali. Atali works so well with that stuff. Like Jessica's Will is so good in Atali, right?
Yeah,
it's just 7 mana a lot of time. That's awesome.
Yeah, so more of those kind of effects with Flashback, like things that will allow me to do it again, so that when I inevitably fail, it will be like I have a way to get myself back.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That's really what I'm looking for.
That's the most exciting part about Atali is like the red and green cards that Wizards has been printing recently work well with the Atali strategy. So you get new toys all the time, I feel.
It makes the MDFCs insane too, especially now that we have MDFCs that come into play untapped.
The Disciple of Fraley's.
Disciple of Fraley's.
Oh my God.
It's a great way to put Atali back into my command zone.
Draws you 7 cards. It's fucking insane.
If that can't find me another way to get Atali back, I don't know what will.
Even if you're like, oh, I think I'm going to whiff, but at least my land here is going to accidentally, for free, draw me 7 cards and gain me 7 life. I'm probably in an okay. You're in an okay spot
or even
there.
like the red Pinnacle Monk, right?
Oh,
like
yeah,
gets
back
my
to Twin Flame.
Metamorphosis back or my Twin Flame back from my graveyard, which feels great.
Perfect for Atali. Like those cards feel like they were made for the deck.
They're great. Like if I spit into an Eldritch Evolution too, like oh shit, like I have another thing that I can go get off Eldritch.
The red one can't get back the Eldritch because the Eldritch exiled itself. But I understand what you're saying. Eldritch can go get that.
I did have a game where I had an Atali that spun into Eldritch Evolution, and I had a 3-mana thing that I could sacrifice, and I was like, you know what would be an awesome thing to get is the Pinnacle Monk because I had the copier in my graveyard.
Yeah, great. So much good synergy there.
But yeah, this is like just my list, and I know there's some stuff that I do in my list that other players don't.
Are there some you want to talk about? Some highlights, some other cards that other players are playing that you haven't gotten to or don't think are quite good, or
yeah, let's do this. So I have someone who's played a lot of Atali and has done really well with Atali is the comedian Ian, and there's a couple things that I understand why he likes in his list. And it's just a little bit of a different kind of strategy that he's going for. Whereas I play more mana dorks, Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves, and stuff like that. He's on a lot more of like a ritual strategy where he plays the 2-mana Desperate Ritual and Piratic Ritual.
Kind of makes sense.
Which does make sense, especially because then he gets to also play Goblin and Archomancer and Ruby Medallion, which are ways to make not just those rituals cheaper, but like your Jessica's Will cheaper.
Your Atali cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just makes it way easier to go off with like even the Sticker Goblin combos then too.
It's nice that those mana sources are active right away. And I feel like that's what Atali needs is like you want your spins to work with you right now and like being able to hit that instant spin. And now whereas if Atali hits an Elvish Mystic, that kind of sucks, right? That's bad normally.
Exactly.
Sometimes it can be okay, but oftentimes it's bad. So I guess it makes sense. Have you thought about shifting that a little bit?
I have. The thing that I don't like about the red rituals is that it just like kind of helps you get stopped easier.
Sure.
Like the people find, oh, that's a great like Flusterstorm target before you are able to cast Atali. And now you like it prevents you from having a way to get back to Atali.
Yeah,
is what I don't like about it. Like at least if I tap Elvish Mystic, I can untap them and use them again next turn.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very
also
fair.
really like them with Food Chain too.
Oh,
so like even if I spin into an Elvish Mystic, at least it's 2 mana into a Food Chain if I have Food Chain.
That's true. It helps you actually close the game out and find the win a little bit quicker.
So I think there's a lot of good synergy with an
there's reasons for
Archomancer
both
and
for
Ruby
sure.
Medallion, because a lot of times like those cards can add you 2 to 3 mana per turn instead of just like 1 mana that a Mana Dork does. But I like the long game implications that Mana Dorks have, and it's kind of made me look for more impactful 3-drops that I want to have then in play then too, like more things like Hunting Velociraptor that will help me make sure that turn 3 Atali is guaranteed.
Sure. You want to be able to, you want to have decent follow-up turns. So rather than having the most explosive Atali turn ever, your Atali is turned to an 8 rather than an 11, but there's a pretty good chance you can follow it up next turn with the second win attempt. Yeah. Whereas the 11 version maybe has a hard time following it up if they do stop after all that shit. The second turn win, well now, because of the Desperate Ritual and all that stuff, I only have 3 mana in play and I don't have access to those things now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, that makes sense.
We're on a little bit of a different removal package too, whereas I'm on a Braid and Fury.
Okay, a Fury I think is good.
Fury I think I still really like. A Braid I will argue I think I could swap out for something else.
Maybe time to cut a Braid.
It could be time to cut a Braid. I don't think I would cut it for Archdruid's Charm. I played Archdruid's Charm for a little while.
Green stuff.
Green stuff. Unless I have Gaia's Cradle, like I'm not really actively looking for a green card, even though it's so flexible.
So flexible.
So many good things. It gets rid of a Ristic Study that I wanted to get rid of. It gets rid of a Dreaded Magistrate that I wanted to get rid of. It ramps me if I wanted to. Like it does so many good things, but it's just so difficult to cast.
Yeah, I feel like just as a player, like if you're your playstyle, you don't want shit that's gonna sometimes rot in your hand. You want all of your things to always be live. Just as a player, like that's how you are. You don't want cards that are those very drastic 80-20s. You want them closer to 60-40s.
It was the easiest thing for me to pitch to a Chrome Mox or my Gemstone Caverns, and that was the best thing that it did for me. But I would consider playing Delayed Blast Fireball. He's on Delayed Blast
that one's
Fireball.
good. I think that's cool.
That one's pretty cool. Yeah,
Doesn't get rid of Dranith.
It's really good because when you spin into it, you haven't cast it from your hand.
That's crazy.
Or you are casting
exile.
it from exile, which means that when you spin into it for free, you get the 5 damage option.
We didn't talk about another one of the cons is this deck is pretty weak to Dranith Magistrate. Not only does it stop you from getting Atali out, but it stops your food chain win and stops if you're doing Underworld Breach stuff. It makes the deck difficult to interact with. And the 2 damage version of the spell does not deal with Dranith Magistrate.
No, and that's why I'm still on a Braid is because it does deal with Dranith Magistrate.
But the upside of 5 damage to everything is nutso.
Yeah,
that's really good.
True.
Yeah,
he's also on Flare of Duplication, which is one I've gone back and forth on.
Oh, I like this.
I like that I can sacrifice Atali, but if I don't have Atali in play, it makes it harder.
It's just it could be a second Twin Flame though. If you have another red creature in play,
maybe I should be thinking a little bit harder on Flare of Duplication.
Yeah,
I didn't think there were many great applications for it, but maybe there's more than I think.
Yeah, I think just it adds to that ability. And I know we've talked about Flare of Duplication to copy someone else's ad nauseum is not really that good.
Yeah,
but
I feel like there's a lot of times where if I could Flare of Duplication someone's Demonic Tutor to go find Treasonous Ogre, I feel like that's still really good.
Yeah, I agree.
He's on a different green MDFC than I am. I'm on the Disciple of Freyalise.
He's not on that one at all.
No, he's on Bridgeworks Battle instead, the fight spell.
I think they're both good.
I think they both probably are good. I don't have room for the other one quite yet, although now that I think I want to change up my mana base a little bit, I feel like I definitely can make room for Bridgeworks Battle.
I think Disciple that's just so nutty. The option of getting rid of the chunky to draw 7, that feels so good.
And Battle is a way to get rid of Dranith Magistrate too, so why not both?
I think you should play
why
both.
not both?
Are you playing basics? What basics are you playing?
I'm on some basics. I am on a basic forest and a basic mountain.
Basic mountain.
I like having basics. I run as many fetch lands as I possibly can, except for Prismatic Vista.
Have you thought about a snow-covered forest?
I'm actually on snow-covered forest.
You are? So you have snow-covered and forest?
No, just snow-covered.
Have you thought about a basic, having 2?
I have, but I would, before I put a basic forest in, I'm going to put Bridgeworks Battle in.
Yeah, I get that.
Is how that goes, yeah.
It doesn't I'm thinking about Blood Moon. Sometimes you'll need double green pips, but that's not super relevant. You'll have like elves or something.
No, yeah. I have other ways that I can make green mana that I'm not as concerned about it, and most of the time, I just want to cast Chunky anyway under Blood Moon.
And that's kind of another nice thing about this deck is I don't want to say you can turn your brain off, but it does kind of and I really want to emphasize that I don't think it's a dumb deck. It is tricky, but it feels like it's fun. It's just fun to play. Well, sometimes it's just obvious. Oh, here's 4 great spells that I get to cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to if you're unfamiliar with the format, it's a good way to very quickly learn the format because you see so many cards so quickly. But it's also just I don't know. It's fun. It just does kind of crazy things which are fun.
Okay, I have one more deck that I want to compare. It got top 32 at the Fishbowl, which is not too terrible.
It's pretty good.
So there's a couple of additional things that they're on here. Eldrazi Confluence and a number of Atali lists before.
What does that do?
I guess more recently. So this is 2 and 2 colorless, and for an instant, and it's a confluence spell, which means that you
can 2 and 2 colorless.
2 and 2 colorless. Yeah.
Specifically 2
and
colorless.
2 colorless pips.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why that tripped me out for a second.
So it's an instant. You can choose 3, and you can choose the same mode more than once. It gets rid of Dranith Magistrate. You can have target creature get +3, -3 until end of turn. You can exile target non-land permanent, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Or you can create a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion.
It flickers Atali?
Yeah, so it can flicker Atali, get rid of Dranith Magistrate, or help you get mana by creating 1/1 Eldrazi Scions that can tap for colorless.
That seems really 4 mana.
It's 4 mana, and you have to have 2 colorless specifically,
that's tough.
Soul Ring in particular, which is why I'm not on it, but I have seen it, and it seems really funny.
That seems great. Great flip off Atali, too.
I've seen a couple of these other Atali lists that play Kiki-Jiki lines with Fear of Missing Out or Combat Celebrant, too. It's just another way to win the game.
Dude, I want to play this deck.
I wish that Kiki-Jiki could copy Atali.
Non-legendary
specifically non-legendary, which would be so cool. But this list is also on Harrygast, Erupting Nullkite.
What is this card?
This is the 9 mana 6/6 Eldrazi Dragon that you can emerge for 6 and 2 red. And when you cast it, you can exile your hand, and if you do, you draw 3.
What is emerge? You can
you sacrifice another creature and reduce its emerge casting cost by the amount of mana that was sacrificed.
Can you remind me again what the emerge cost for this is?
6 and 2 red. So it's cheaper to cast if you emerge something.
So for red,
by a ton.
you sack Atali, and this is red.
That's still really good. Like a red draw 3 is still really good.
I guess, yeah. And then you have the ability to recast Atali.
That's been around for a while, technically. The ability to go red draw 3 has been around for a while.
Because of Bedlam Reveler.
Yeah.
And that card stinks.
But why aren't we playing Bedlam Reveler? Did that card have Delve, or what made Bedlam Reveler cheap?
Not the number of cards in graveyard, but the number of like instants and sorceries in the graveyard, maybe? I don't know. Was it cards in graveyard? I love that card. I can't remember.
I built the Mardu Pyromancer deck because of this card.
Yep, me too.
How do we
that Jerry
have
Thompson
the
played?
same modern experience, and we missed each other for years.
Right, with like Lingering Souls, I think. Jerry Thompson played this deck, right?
Young Pyromancer.
So good.
Yeah, so good, yeah. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, and it has prowess. When it enters, discard your hand.
I guess the instant sorcery in graveyard is harder with Atali.
Yeah, because you don't play Lingering Souls and Faithless Looting in this deck. So
Faithless Looting, no, that's still bad.
Still bad.
What else we talk about Atali? We talked about the win conditions. We talked about the pros. We talked about the cons. We talked about the goals. Should we do some test hands?
All right, let's do some Atali test hands, which is just basically like how much mana can we make?
Can we make 7 mana by turn 2? If not, mulligan at least 2 or 3 times.
Dude, this hand's cracked.
All right,
cracked first hand.
See it.
You ready for this? It's turn 2 chunky, I think. We have Scalding Tarn, Exotic Orchard, Defense Grid, Orcish Lumberjack, Twin Flame, Seething Song, and Dualcaster Mage.
Oh, Dualcaster. Wait, Seething Song and Dualcaster Mage. Okay, I have to see it. Yeah,
this is just a turn 2 win. Because what you do is on turn 1, you go Scalding Tarn into Orcish Lumberjack. Turn 2, you play your Exotic Orchards and then make 5 mana off of the Lumberjack, and then all this. You can Seething Song so that if you want to Atali, you could, or you can just use all that mana to Twin Flame and Dualcaster Mage and just win on turn 2 like that.
That's funny.
So
would you go for? I mean,
honestly, dude, you can do this with Defense Grid backup. You can, because you make 5 mana off of your 2 lands. If you fetch Taiga,
go to
you
2.
Make 5 off of your 2 lands,
go
and
up to
then
7. Oh yeah,
and then
you go up to 7. Yeah, and you go Defense Grid, Twin Flame, Dualcaster.
Yeah.
Definitely go for that, right?
Wow, this deck's cracked. All right.
That's really okay. Yeah,
keeping that hand.
Turn 2 win. That's weird.
That's wild.
Let's go to the next one.
Deal another hand. Okay. This one's a little weirder. This is Carplusian Forest, Windswept Heath, Beseiju, Lightning Bolt, Seething Song, Dualcaster Mage, and then Sylvan Library.
Gotta be no, right?
I think I'm tossing this back. There's no impactful thing on turn 1, and it's just turn 2 Library to do nothing.
Yeah, not what we want to do. I mean, it's a keep. It looks like a keepable hand. Turn 1 Lightning Bolt something. Turn 2 Sylvan Library. Turn 3, but that's not what we want to do.
No,
we want something like
not.
that first.
Yeah.
One. Second 7.
This one's weird too. We got Lotus Petal, Windswept Heath, Talisman of Impulse, Roaming Throne, Gamble, Ragavan, and Sylvan Library.
That Gamble's got to be able to get something.
These are the hands that start to make me go, how do I get Treasonous Ogre into this hand? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really gamble for Treasonous because you won't have enough to cast it quick enough. Can you gamble for Mana Vault wouldn't get you where you need to be by turn 2? You could like turn to a Roaming Throne? No.
And then the problem is if I get Mana Vault and use it for Roaming Throne, then I'm out of luck. Yeah.
You could, I mean, sometimes out of second 7, I don't know. Sometimes Ragavan, bunch of mana, I think are like, those are keepable hands, but that's how I feel in Rogside, which is another turbo deck, but I don't know if that transfers over to Atali.
I almost don't hate Windswept Heath into Lotus Petal, into Talisman, into Ragavan, and actually holding on to Gamble for the future.
Yeah, I think that could be fine.
Because I think those 4 cards in the deck, the Ragavan, Lotus Petal, Talisman, and Windswept Heath, are all so important to the opener that, like, if I get rid of Roaming Throne or Sylvan Library, I almost don't care. And if the thing that I get off Gamble is like, oh, man, I really want it to be a way to help me get Atali out is the problem.
Yeah, you could, if you rip a land, you could off of the turn 1 land, Lotus Petal, Talisman, Ragavan, you could get to 4 mana on turn 2 if you hit the land, which would help you get turn 2 Roaming Throne, but then you're down mana?
Then I'm down mana.
Like then you're down the treasure that you made from Ragavan, so you'd only be down to 3, and you'd have to find like another way to cast Atali, which like maybe the gamble could get you. I don't know. I feel like this one's got lots of good cards, but I think I might chip this one and look for a better 6.
I think so too. Yeah, I think we can find a better 6 really easily. So let's deal another 6. This is Talongate. This is every single one of our tech lands right here.
With the Magus of the Moon.
And Magus of the Moon, oh god, and no way to cast any spells. Talongate's Emergent Zone, Magus of the Moon, Jaxis the Troublemaker, Worldly Tutor, Crop Rot, and Food Chain. We're going to a 5.
Yeah, I'll go to 5. Yep,
we're going to 5. All right. Well, 5 still could be good. This one's not, though. Command Tower, Talongates of Madara, Snow Cover Mountain, Pinnacle Monk, Molten Duplication, Llanowar Elves, and Eldritch Evolution.
If Dockside was in the format, it's a snap keep. This is turn 2 Dockside.
Yeah, really. Turn 2 Dockside. Honestly, this could be a turn 2 Hunting Velociraptor into a turn 3 Atali.
On a 5,
This is
maybe
a
that's
keep.
maybe that's good on a keep.
I think what I'm doing is I'm putting back one of the lands.
Talon Gates.
Maybe the Talon Gates. And then I'm putting back the Pinnacle Monk,
Yeah.
probably.
So you
And
have
I'm
enough
going-
for lands, Llanowar Elves, Eldritch Evolution,
and then Molten
Molten
Duplication. And then I'm going, turn 2.
Hunting Velociraptor,
Maybe I need to put back Molten Duplication
and keep an extra
and
land.
keep an extra land just to make sure that I'm able to do turn
stay in the
3 and just
game.
guarantee it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be my play for this hand.
I think on a 5, that's fine, right? On a 5, that's what you're looking for.
I could look for Forest, Orcish Lumberjack, and LED.
Yeah.
But I think this is fine. This is a
fine,
turn
yeah.
3 chunky that's
Okay.
played out. We don't know the pod.
we
I
didn't
guess
talk about the
technically,
pod. Atali doesn't care.
Yeah, Atali doesn't care. Like, this one will care if I'm up against, like, multiple Tim the Thrasios and, like, a lot of creature decks that it's going to be hard to get in with
Maybe
Hunting
you find like
Velociraptor.
Magus the Moon or something.
Maybe
instead,
something like that.
If
I
your
still
draws are
think
good.
my 3 drops are still really powerful. I
Yeah.
still kind of really like this.
Okay,
So I
cool. We'll
think
keep
I'm
that
okay
one.
with
Should we do
this.
one more game?
Let's do one more. Yeah, and we're still not going to know the pod because who gives one?
I see a Lion's Eye Diamond. Is this hand good?
This hand's interesting. This is Gaia's Cradle, Talon Gates, and Medara. Talon Gates is looking really bad. Every
Yeah.
time that I do test hands with the deck of
Sucks.
mine on the
It's-
channel, I realize that there's a land in here that is really bad.
Yeah.
Lion's Eye Diamond, Urza Saga, Cavern of Souls, Hunting Velociraptor, and Carpet of Flowers.
Awkward. So no way to cast Carpet. No way to cast any spells.
No.
Can't keep it. So good cards. Like if you
Good
draw lucky,
cards.
it's good.
Yeah, but like I can't get Hunting Velociraptor down at all.
Yeah. So I would definitely mulligan this one to 2nd 7.
Second 7. Here we go. We got Wooded Foothills, Cavern of Souls, Snow Cover Mountain, Gamble, Deflecting Swat, Carpet of Flowers, and Elvish Spirit Guide. This is a keep.
This is a keep?
This is a keep. I think so, because depending on the pod, this is a turn 2.
What do you gamble for?
I was going to say a turn 2 Treasonous Ogre, but I was forgetting that Carpet of Flowers has to come down at a weird time.
You could, if you land Carpet into gamble on turn 1, then next turn you can land, hopefully with the
I guess
Carpet and
that's
the
true.
Elvish.
Yeah, there's
Get
certain
on turn
spots.
2.
There's certain spots where if I go second and someone did play an island, where I
This
could
could get
do
you
that.
turn 2
Yeah,
Treasonous Ogre?
This would get me a turn
Is
2
this a 6 or
Treasonous Ogre.
2nd 7?
This is a
Oh shit.
second 7. this
Second
was.
7. This is a keep. You keep this. Deflecting Swat's nice too.
The deflecting swat's nice, yeah, just so that way,
Once
if
you-
I get Mindbreak trapped after I cast Atali,
You can at least protect one spell that you want to resolve.
I get to change all of the targets on Mindbreak trap.
Yeah, this one's a keep. It's not the most flashy one, and your gamble could suck, and your Carpet could be bad. It has the recipe for a turn 2 Atali, because if the gamble works and you get Treasonous Ogre on turn 2, not only is it a turn 2 Atali, but then you have more mana to cast other shit that
Yeah,
you draw.
so like
that you
anything
draw
else that
till
I
then.
draw could end up working out for me
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I keep this one.
What do we draw? An Exotic Orchard.
That sucks.
But then we drew Wheel of Fortune, which would be really good.
That's true. We might have fetched on turn 1, or no.
We
Maybe save
we
the fetch
did, but it
first,
didn't
so
matter
valid.
because yeah.
Atali's great, dude. I think the deck is awesome. It suffers the storm problem in that you feed Rhystic Study, and if you whiff, whoops. It's still, I think, a really fun, powerful deck.
If you like Krark Sakashima, like if you like those non-deterministic kind of storm decks, this
Yeah.
is a really cool deck for you. If you like putting weird puzzles together in Magic, I think this is a good deck for you when like you don't know how you have to piece your win together. Sometimes you have to play really weird creatures and get some really bizarre effects, like Ranger Captain of Eos getting you specific things that maybe I should be considering that more. Maybe like a way that can bounce Atali back to my hand off of a Ranger Captain. Maybe I should like can Wirewood Symbiote return it to my hand?
Maybe that's not good.
Maybe that's not good.
But
I don't
maybe it
know.
is.
I have a lot of thinking to do
Okay.
because my list feels tight, but there's also a lot of cards that I also do feel like make a lot of sense in the deck, but could also be upgraded for better things that might make it function a little bit better too. All right, so the last thing that I just want to add is that my list is in the description of the video, as well as Ian's list and all the other decks that we talked about today, including a list that has been doing really well at like 50 to 100 person tournaments, so that you have an idea as to like what other chunky cards could be out there for you too. I ended up making a couple of swaps since we recorded this episode, including removing Blank Goblin for a couple of other cards that I think will help me be a little bit more resilient in mid-rangey games that come up, because it's clear that there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. Just gotta figure out which cards are best for your play style, what ones you like the best.
All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Penguin Man 0089 Eli the Magic Guy, David Newman, Pat Fire, Spangler, Demetrius Clark, Larceny Royce, Your Boy Blue, Sparky B, Zunon, Insomnia, SC Phillip, Bowling Groupie, Gecko21, Caleb Richie, Zach Hartley, Reactive, Sean in the Ice, Scare Bear Garrett, Luke Cook, Joshua Day, Demon of Roscaries, Peter Stewart, Corner Wild, Uncle Butts, Nick Foles, Goto9, Quad J, Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby G-Bus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thank you, Dragon Shield, for supporting the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at our affiliate link down below for 5% off.
Follow us on social media for more content.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
The Gaming Kinkajou, Ryan Ward, Dan the Man, Sarcastic, Roy Turner, Bill Bob, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Jabaha, Mace the Ace, Dalton Poti, Justin Man Solo, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson. Thank you all. That's a good range. That's a really solid range.
How high can you go?
Not very high.